Hey there, Icarus here, and welcome to yet another edition of Doom Mod Madness. This time round, we're checking out Diamond Dragon, a gameplay mod that promises Catgirl cyberpunk action, and over the course of this here video, we're gonna figure out whether or not it delivers. Spoilers, it does. In all honesty, Diamond Dragon is one of those wonderful style of gameplay mods that just wants to show you a good time, man. If you want to fling a sword around and chop demons in half, it's got you covered. In fact, you can mainline the majority of encounters using the sword alone. Even better, it features not only the ability to block practically anything that's headed in your general direction, but the ability to parry them back at enemies too. This includes rockets, this includes fireballs, this includes full volume machine gun barrages, and all you really need to do is time that block at just the right moment for slower projectiles, or spam it like a madman when faced with something a little more full auto. But wait, there's more. For all the violence you inflict on your enemies, a meter will build, which at level 1 will send out a slicing wave cleaving through anything in front of you, and at charge level 2 will enable a spinning slice that is just a wonderful sight to behold, even including some of those delayed deaths where the enemy thinks they're holding it together and just, fall apart. But yeah, as previously mentioned, you could feasibly do an entire run of Diamond Dragon using the sword alone. It's that versatile, it's that powerful. Heck, I didn't even talk about the quick unsheath slash as well, which grants bonus health. But on top of all of that, there is an entire roster of weaponry, the vast majority of which I'm pleased to report is dual wieldable. If anything, I feel kinda bad for the starting pistols, because they're not too bad in their own right, but before long they are thoroughly usurped by the likes of the dual machine pistols. If you want to know my favorite thing about the dual machine pistols, other than the fact that there's two of them, it's that by pressing Alt Fire, you can put them sideways. It doesn't do any extra damage, but at bare minimum, it will increase your cool rating by at least a factor of 4. Interestingly, this switch between aiming styles will also happen naturally during the course of gameplay. On top of that, I'm particularly a fan of the idle pose for this and many other weapons for when you haven't been actively firing them for a short period of time. There is a caveat though. I should mention the reloads. Not only are they wonderfully detailed in terms of animation, but they also throw a little bit of a wrinkle into the action depending on whether or not you're single or dual wielding. And that is, of course, reload time. When it concerns the dual machine pistols, it's not too bad, relatively swift all things considered, and downright snappy when compared to the lever-action shotgun. In single-wielded mode, the primary fire functions as expected with the customary cool-as-all-hell re-rack animation, and if the primary was indebted to Terminator 2, then the secondary is very much indebted to Army of Darkness. As for that reload in dual-wielding mode, oh boy does it take a good long while. I mean, makes perfect sense. It's going to be the most unwieldy thing to try and load shells into in the midst of a firefight. And really, if you want to experience the thrill of firing two of those babies off at the same time, then who am I to judge? As it is written in the ancient text, the SSG also makes an entry here. It sounds like thunder and it hits like a truck. What more do you want, really? What, another one? Well, here you go. Worth noting that if you're in dual-wielding mode with these babies, it does disable the ability for you to independently fire each barrel. That said, you do gain the ability to fire both weapons in full at the same time, so yeah, win-win, I guess. On the rifle end of things, we've got a weapon that bears a striking resemblance to a HK G36, but personally speaking, if we're going Cyberpunk, I always prefer the G11. I mean, look at the thing. It's from a future long forgotten. But I digress, it's a nice replacement for the old chain gun slot. It's got a scope secondary for those delicate headshots, which can indeed be pulled off here thanks to some canny hitboxing on these custom sprites. And yes, it can be dual-wielded, and boy does it feel good. As for the next weapon on the roster, however... Oh boy! So you can probably imagine why this is one of the few weapons here that you can't dual wield, but, considering it's a plasma gun shoved into the end of a chain gun, I'm not really complaining all that much. The only thing I could really gripe about when it comes to this weapon is the fact that the screen shake is probably a bit too much when holding down the fire button, but in all honesty, screen shake I think is probably one of the more egregious downsides of Diamond Dragon, doubly so when there's a lot of explosives popping off. And as luck would have it, explosions are the forte of the next weapon in the roster here, that being the grenade launcher, or grenade launchers to be more specific, because it's not really all that long during the course of this map set here before you got one strapped to either arm. Even utilized solo, the grenade launcher here features a shockingly rapid rate of fire, and that only, well, doubles when you're holding two of them. But some of you out there might be wondering what sets this apart from being just a rapid-fire rocket launcher, and that would be that there is actual projectile drop here. Not that that's going to really bother you all that much, and yeah, that's about it. Couldn't really comment on the damage inflicted per projectile, but once again, the sheer volume of explosives you can lob around with these two more than makes up for any potential shortfall. Last but certainly not least, we have the micro nuke launcher. Primary fire on this requires you to arm the projectile before firing it, and when you do, you best make sure you're a fair distance away, because the area of effect on this thing is pretty significant. Yeah, it's certainly not a weapon for close quarters combat, and one that will require you to be mindful about potential fallout, quite literally, because wherever the projectile strikes, it will also leave a lingering cloud of radiation. But yeah, those caveats aside, I would say it qualifies as an excellent FU button to anything that's been troubling you. That said, you may want to make less of an explosive statement, and that's where the secondary mode of this comes into play, which transforms it into a heat-seeking missile launcher. None of the fallout, none of the excessive area of effect, but all of the benefit of being able to aim like your drunk uncle at a wedding and still manage to land a shot. Have I mentioned the chainsaw? There's a chainsaw. Not just any old chainsaw though, it's a chainsaw that functions as an upgrade of your existing cybernetic arm, which is pretty goddamn sweet if I say so myself. It can be swapped out with the katana as your quick melee if you so choose, and even better, once you bag yourself an SSG, you can actually use it with the chainsaw in tandem. Groovy. And that about does it for the weapons roster here, and truth be told, each and every one of them is an absolute joy to wield, even those starting pistols when I remember that they exist. The only element of Diamond Dragon weapon-wise that I feel kinda got lost in the shuffle would be the usage of grenades. I genuinely forgot that they were even a thing I could use during the course of my playthrough, and testament to that fact will be the sheer number of grenades you can see on my person at any given time. An interesting factor regarding the gameplay of Diamond Dragon is the fact that the custom enemies that you're seeing during the course of this map set here are in fact built in to the gameplay mod itself, adding to that whole cyberpunk theming, what with the cyberized enemies, and those goddamn terrifying Kako replacements. However, this is more than just a visual thing for the sake of the mod. This also does include changes to what enemies fire, as well as their movement behaviors. You'll notice here and there that a few imps are a little bit more spry than usual, and the occasional enemy will also go prone in order to catch you off guard. On the higher end, there are a few notable enemy changes, the Archvile replaced with a extremely zippy Diabolist variant, and the Pain Elemental replaced with what I believe is an enemy type called the Genie. And this one kicks the bucket, it in fact spits out those torture orbs from Star Wars. Yeah, that one, the one with the syringe strapped to it. We've even got some Duke 3D Pig Cop tanks in here, only the Pig Cops are replaced with Marines, and sadly you cannot make them go boom boom by running around the back and hitting the button. That said, the Marine on the inside does hilariously flop onto the floor when the tank explodes, and after that you can pretty much deal with them how you see fit. The Spider Mastermind is replaced with a variant that feels very much in keeping with the vibe of this map set here, and for the curious that would be Augur Zenith, a map that pairs fantastically well with this mod. And when it comes to the Cyber Demon, I'm pretty sure that's an enemy type from In Pursuit of Greed. And if you have no idea what that is, don't worry, I'm sure Civvy will get around to playing it eventually and will regret every second of it. Really, when you get down to brass tacks, Diamond Dragon is all about making you feel like the biggest badass in the room, giving you the loudest weaponry in the room, allowing you to do the coolest shit in the room. And I think across all three disciplines there, it is easily passing with flying colors. Heck, I haven't even gotten around to touching on the knee slide that you can do to fling enemies up in the air and shoot them. And the slow-mo! The slow-mo actually isn't an integrated part of this mod just yet. It's something that you can activate, largely for funsies, but boy would I love to see some kind of integrated mechanic that allows you to build meter to utilize that kind of stuff. There's just so much to love. I love the sword, probably one of my favorite implementations of a weapon that allows you to block and parry as of yet in a Doom mod. And I love that it's also available as a quick melee, regardless of what weapon you're using. That ability to just slice off an enemy's head at a moment's notice, it's just good stuff, man. Heck, the animations across the board are absolutely tip-top stuff. Sure, it goes a little OTT with the screen shake with regards to certain weapons and explosions, but you can't deny that when it comes to the reload animations, and assuredly the idle animations, that a lot of care and attention has gone into Diamond Dragon. But yeah, if it weren't already obvious, this one's a heavy recommendation from me. A ridiculously fun time, and a great utilization of throwback cyberpunk aesthetics that is very much right up my alley. If you're interested in giving this a whirl for yourself, the link to the Doom World page is in the description below. There's a handy-dandy list of recommended maps included on that same page, so feel free to give it a look if you need some inspiration. And if you've enjoyed this video, feel free to let me know in the comments. Even better, feel free to throw me some coin over on Patreon. But until next time, this has been Mr. Icarus. Thank you very much for watching. Icarus out.